So why do Barcelona fans have a love-hate relationship with Frenkie de Jong? Well, it's more like a hate-hate relationship these days. So let's see the different roles Frenkie de Jong has played at Barcelona. Under Ronald Koeman, when Ronald Koeman started, he played in a 4-2-3-1 formation, and so we had a line of a back four, and then we had Sergio Busquets as the main pivot, and then we had Frenkie de Jong over here as the supporting pivot. So what happened was that, at that time, his role was much more attacking. And, when Barcelona used to attack in this sort of a situation, Frenkie would, move up and they would form this sort of a five up front. Busquets was basically, he was used to playing as a single pivot, and because of that he was used to occupying this entire area. And so when De Jong was back over here, they used to run into each other basically. And so this 4-2-3-1 formation didn't really work out for too long, and then Koeman he shifted to a 3-5-2. So in this 3-5-2, De Jong would basically, play over here, and it was a pretty attractive phase during Koeman's coaching stint at Barcelona. But one of the defenders, he basically got injured, and Koeman basically moved De Jong back here into the back three, and he turned him into libero. And then again, when Barcelona were attacking, De Jong had that role of a libero, and he used to go all the way up here in the box and connect with the attackers. So that was a pretty good phase, and this is known as the attacking De Jong of that time. So then in comes Xavi, and he starts off with a 4-3-3. And so when Xavi starts off in a 4-3-3, Busquets is the pivot at the time, and Frenkie de Jong is the interior midfielder alongside Pedri. And they play that 4-3-3, and then eventually Xavi shifts, and this again is, he's a supportive De Jong along with Busquets, but as you know, in a single pivot, Busquets likes to occupy this area, so then De Jong becomes an attacking De Jong, and we see him over here in the box most of the time. And so then what happens is that Xavi basically, after a while, he shifts to a 3-4-3 with a midfield box. And how that works is that basically you start off with a back four, and then you form this sort of a box over here with Busquets, De Jong, Pedri, and one of the left wingers tucking in. So we got this box of four, and this fullback attacks the left fullback, and you got this back three over here. So De Jong over here is now in the supporting role, but initially Xavi put him here, and then eventually moved him here because De Jong up front didn't really work out that well. So Xavi thought that because there's a back three, and there are going to be counter-attacking opportunities for the opponent, so it's better that De Jong stays here. And so this formation continued, and then, as we know, Sergio Busquets, he retired and he went to Inter Miami. And so then Barcelona was without a real single pivot. And so now let's jump towards the end of Xavi's coaching stint at Barcelona. So without Busquets, he basically played Christensen over here, and Jules Koundé was the guy who would be the back three with Ronald Araujo and Pau Cubarsí. João Cancelo would play up here, and again the interior, the forward would tuck in, and so De Jong had this role. And what was happening was that with Gundogan and Pedri and Fermin Lopez, these were the more attacking profiles. So De Jong was basically told to stay back, and when Jules Koundé would move forward, linking up with Yamal, what would happen was that De Jong was basically the main pivot now, and so Christensen would be tasked to move forward, and De Jong would be tasked to stay back over here. And that's when from a tactical standpoint, things started going against De Jong as far as the fans go, because then we saw a really, really defensive De Jong. Like, he wasn't moving forward anymore. Because the reason for that is because, in this back three, he was tasked to stop the counterattacks. And so what we saw here was that, and this wasn't a libero role, so he couldn't move forward during the attack. In a libero, you have that freedom to build up. So we saw this De Jong, making these backwards or sideways passes. And, when the opponent presses you, or he's pressing your other players, what De Jong is doing, he's doing his sideways movement and all that, and then he's beating that press, and then he's making those passes. So, but that's a technical thing, and most of the fans aren't really going to see that. And that is why we see this sort of a love-hate relationship turn into a hate-hate relationship, because people don't really like defensive players if they have an image in their mind that this guy, he should be the single pivot, or he should be playing right up over here, he should be doing more. So there's criticism, and then there's a lot of politics with that. So what happens at Barcelona is that basically De Jong basically has high wages, and that is because he took a wage cut, and he was on a deferment plan because Barcelona had financial trouble. And so when that happened, and he took that wage cut, and he deferred his wages a few years. So what happened was that now Barcelona had to pay him, but because the financial crunch wasn't over, Barcelona 2 years back decided to sell him to Manchester United. And De Jong, obviously, Barcelona's Barcelona, he refused to leave. And so this media onslaught started. That this guy, he's being overpaid, look, he's not attacking, this and that. And so obviously that impacts the fans. They're not looking at the tactical game is much bigger, which is happening behind the scenes mostly. And so the fans turned against him. They this guy, he's being paid too much, we haven't seen De Jong on the pitch, he's not doing much. And so that narrative starts building, and it starts gaining momentum. And so now, and then he gets injured. So now what happens is that we got a new coach, Hansi Flick. And obviously De Jong is staying, he's not going to leave. If he does leave, it's most likely going to be on as a free agent when his contract expires, because he's not renewing right now either. And because there's this Cold War sort of a situation going on, he's a Dutch player, he doesn't like it when you decide to sell him against as well. And that was because they had to pay him that money that he had deferred. So now he's not recovered yet, but once he does, we're gonna see how Hansi Flick is gonna play him. And so let's get to that. So what Hansi Flick is going to do is he's going to start off in a 4-2-3-1. So we got this back four, we got this double pivot, and then we got these three attackers with the number 10, and obviously the striker Robert Lewandowski. So as of now, Barcelona have not signed a Busquets replacement, so they don't have a real pivot in the traditional sense. So it's most likely going to be Christensen again over here, or maybe somebody else. Let's see if Hansi Flick can find some talent during the preseason. But De Jong again is going to have that role over here. So when Hansi Flick attacks, it's basically this front five, and so over here, what happens is that when this line moves forward, one of the guys from the double pivot, if it's this guy over here, he's gonna have to move forward, or De Jong is gonna have to move forward, and they're gonna have to make this front five. These guys making late runs. One of the guys, linking up the number 10, linking up with Robert Lewandowski, and then the Jong Role here. So it's basically that front five sort of a thing that's gonna work. But what we're gonna have to see is that with Xavi, it was basically Christensen moving forward, and right now, and somebody's gonna have to play that role of Thiago Alcantara, who's gonna because the fullbacks in Flick's plan are also gonna attack. And so one of these guys is going to have to stay back. It's most likely going to be De Jong, but obviously, Christensen, he is a defender, and it could be him as well. So, well, the main role is, like, the way I see him is because, initially Thiago Alcantara used to play as an interior midfielder, but when Hansi Flick came to Bayern, he moved him back over here to make those, passes to this line of five, the line breaking passes where you can, pass over here, and whoever gets the ball, for example, this guy gets the ball, everybody makes this run into the box, and you got to overload this box over here. And so, when you have 4 or 5 guys over here inside the box, there's a pretty good chance you're going to score. And there's not too much passing going around over here. There is passing. It's a high possession based team, but the differences between Hansi Flick and the traditional Barcelona DNA coaches is that once you win the ball back through a high counter press, Hansi Flick wants you to attack within 3 seconds. He wants you to get inside that box, and that's why the role of the number 10. Behind the striker is really, really important because he's the guy who's going to be creating the spaces through his runs. And so there's a lot of coordination going on between these two guys over here. So if he now, gives, and so what, and because, he had Thomas Muller and Coutinho, he moved Thiago Alcantara back. And so if that's the role De Jong is going to play, well, he's perfectly suited for that role. And he's going to get to go forward, but most of the time, he's going to stay around over here, move back and forth, and, form this back three sometimes. But now the thing is, De Jong is one of those guys who gets the ball, and then he starts making those runs with his dribble. It's called a progressive carry to beat the opposing press. And so the good thing now is that, because Hansi Flick is looking for those passes, those line breakers, the good thing is that he has Thiago Alcantara on his staff. And Thiago, as we've heard, is he's practicing with the team, and during the possession exercise, he is actually a player inside the team because he's training your guys how to play possession the way Hansi Flick wants Barcelona to play. And so when De Jong gets back from injury, we can see Thiago Alcantara, if he does during the summer, because Thiago's only here till the summer, we can see him guiding De Jong to play more of those line-breaking passes. And so let's see what happens. The other thing is that, if Christensen's the guy, then he's going to have to make those line-breaking passes, and then De Jong gets to play up front. And once he gets to play up front, with all the coaching and all that better tactical system that we expect from Hansi Flick, we can see De Jong maybe scoring more goals or maybe linking up with these guys and having those assists. And so we saw him move forward under Koeman. We could see that again. And with, the fast pace and everything, he might even become a goal scorer. So let's see how that happens. Let's see how it works. And yeah, that's that. But we gotta hope that he does well, because if he does well, he renews his contract, and nobody wants to leave Barcelona. So he'll probably renew at lower wages, and then we can see De Jong for a longer time. If not, then he's gonna leave. But if he leaves, it's not much benefit for Barcelona, because fine, he leaves, the wages go, but he's probably gonna leave on a free. And if he leaves on a free, Barcelona, he's a $90 million player, 80 million euro, 90 million euro player right now. They lose that opportunity.